going on, folks, and welcome to yet another one of my world building videos here on the channel. For those of you little hooligans who are new here, welcome, happy to have you. For a while now I've been making a lot of creature designs to inhabit the world of Kulgurath, and the time has finally come to transition over to working on the many races and characters that inhabit this realm. I've actually been working on a bunch of this stuff for months now, in between like my various creature designs and other content that I've posted up, so I might be like bouncing all over the place here in this video since there's so many sketches, but these first few in particular you see are the earliest conceptions and doodles for one of my personal favorites, the mighty orcs. This race of hulking beings are native to the northern territories on the continent of Sundara, consisting of many different tribes, and some of these tribes have even migrated and established themselves to the north on the continent Terracon, specifically in the region of the Kangas Expanse. Those of you who are a bit more familiar with my tastes and my fine palate, y'all know I got a soft spot for all the things prehistoric and barbaric, be it Conan or primal or anything of that sort, and that's kind of the vibes I wanted to go with for my orcs here. Their culture is heavily revolved around the laws of nature and may be seen as somewhat harsh or brutal, but they are firm believers in only the strong being worthy of survival. A lot of orcs you see in various fantasy IPs are green in coloration, but the Orcs of Kulgurath come in various earthy orange skin tones, and their massive jaws are lined with a pair of tusks. Now they hold great pride in these tusks, as it is a symbol of strength, and the removal of these would bring great shame to them. You'll see with this concept sheet I drew up a pair of male orcs battling one another to assert dominance. When challenging each other, they will press their foreheads against one another and lock tusks, with their arms placed on each other in a starting position, similar to like what you would see in wrestling, which wrestling, that's kind of what I use for the reference with the pose here. In order to become chieftain of a tribe, they engage in this one-on-one combat. No weapons, just pure hand-to-hand combat and fight to the death. The winner would then rip out the tusks of his felled opponent as a trophy to show his physical prowess. The orcs are big on incorporating like the skulls and bones of many of the things they hunt and kill into their clothing and crafts, kind of similar to like the Yautja from the Predator series. And side note, I saw Predator Badlands recently and it was a pretty fun movie. Now tonally it's way different from like the more serious slasher style of the earlier films. It's much more like a comic book kind of action-adventure film. But it had some dope creature designs and environments too. But anyways, let's get back to these orcs. When I design all these creatures or races, I kind of visualize how they would work if I were to ever turn this into something more than just like these drawings and this simple stuff I do here on the channel. So like if I were to make like a graphic novel or a comic book or like a cheap anime or video game, I want to mold them in a way so that I have the option, if I were to ever really, get the chance to bring this stuff to life. That's why the style I've kind of gone with is a little less detailed and realistic, because I want to be able to replicate this stuff in mass at a much faster pace than like some creature or character designs that you might see someone put crazy amounts of detail and refinement into in something like an art portfolio. Now I grew up drawing, a lot of like, in terms of humanoid things, I started off kind of learning to draw stuff like that from like comic book characters, superheroes, or from anime like Dragon Ball Z characters, and it's kind of influenced my approach a lot with my character designs. Another thing I keep in mind that's kind of like video game or RPG like is that I kind of make these characters or design them around things like classes or jobs, like paladins, rogues, mages, etc. And for the orcs, their belief system is like a combination of, what we call animism, which is like the idea that there are spirits or essence in all things, be it animals, plants, rocks, etc. And primalism, which emphasizes ancestral ways of living and embracing the purity of primal instincts. Oh yeah, and their mounts are dire boars, which is way cooler than a horse, I would say. But here's the initial rough design for the dire boars here. I felt it was only fitting that, if the orc, what's heavily into their design traits is like, incorporating tusks, then their beasts of burden gotta have tusks as well. And y'all know me, I love giving my creatures tusks and manes and beards, you know, it's the Josh White staple, okay? But now that we got those initial rough concept sheets out the way, we're going to move on to an actual orc character design. Now, whenever I first establish the looks of my characters or creatures, I always draw them in a very basic stance in like either a front profile for the characters or a side profile for the creatures. I'm very big into silhouettes, probably because of my love for bodybuilding and silhouettes being so integral for aesthetics. So I don't like drawing them in some crazy dynamic pose, because I can do that later after I've established the foundation of their looks and I'm happy with, you know, how they look in their basic pose. Because if they look cool in this, you know, what I'm dubbing a mugshot pose, then you already know they're gonna look cool performing actions. It's as simple as that. Now, this orc's name is Grawl, the High Chieftain, and for his clothing, I wanted it to be very primitive and tribal looking, with fur and wraps and various skulls and bones. And I love like native tribal headdresses, so you'll see I end up adorning him with one of these as well to symbolize his status as High Chieftain. Oh yeah, and totems are prevalent throughout their culture as well, which they even use as weapons, as you'll see here with Grawl. And I think the first time I ever saw like a giant totem be used as a weapon was from the original opening cinematic from World of Warcraft, where the Tauren had one of those, and I thought that was like the coolest shit ever. And then, you know, later down the line, you know, we got the trolls from God of War toting them around too. And so I said, I'm taking that shit and I'm using it for my orcs. Now, to circle back to the RPG-ness of my characters, Grawl's class is a shaman. And I'm still working through all the different like categorizations, because I keep going back and forth and thinking of new things. But a shaman is a subclass of the overarching order known as a primalist. Think of it like a talent tree or something, where you would be classified as the primalist, and then you would branch off into a more specific niche, shamans being one and barbarians being the other. And the main theme or gimmick of primalists is that they channel the power of ancestral spirits, and barbarians channel this spiritual energy into their own being to perform abilities and such, and they're pretty much, you know, offensive based only, whereas shamans channel the energy into their totems, which can be used for offense, defense, or like support abilities and spells. So Grawl here could channel the power of, let's say, a behemoth into his totem, and then from the totem a ground splitting spell could be cast. And since the totem can operate like a companion of sorts, Grawl can then bust these fools up with his fists, while the totem is off to the side providing the support. Quite the dynamic duo, I would say. So here's Grawl's official look. I really like how this one turned out, especially with like the dripping white paint, which is also a little nod to a character known as Thunder from Killer Instinct, which is my favorite fighting game of all time, just saying. But yeah, now I'll show y'all the final design for his dire boar mount as well. These robust pigs are far larger than the boars and warthogs of our world, and while they are notoriously very aggressive to those who come near, the orcs have learned how to domesticate them over time, and as such, they are their primary animal to use for all sorts of things, whether it's as mounts or used to plow through underbrush and barricades and carry heavy loads for long distances. Now, they have poor eyesight, but a great sense of smell, and have surprisingly high animal intelligence, capable of distinguishing individuals and responding to dozens of vocal commands. In terms of diet, they are omnivores, consisting of roots, fungus, bark, hardy grasses, bones and carrion, and even some exotic mushrooms that are mildly toxic to other species. Their massive tusks continue to grow throughout their entire lifespan, sometimes becoming so long that they curve back and slowly begin to impale their skulls. They roam the lands in small groups called sounders, led by an older sow. The younger males form a bachelor group, and the older, much more mature males remain solo, only joining with the females during mating season. In order to really tie in these boars to the orcs, I ended up using like kind of the same color palettes you saw with Grawl there. And of course, since this is his personal mount, I went ahead and designed some drip for this dire boar, with it sporting its own headdress. And I haven't settled on a name yet for Grawl's Battle Pig, so let me hear some suggestions down in the comments below. And note, Wilbur is not going to be its name, alright? You know, I like to incorporate some more lighthearted campy stuff every now and again, but for the orcs here, we're going for badass vibes, you dig? So here's the final concept art piece for both Grawl and his companion. I really enjoyed designing all this stuff here, so hopefully y'all think it turned out pretty cool as well. Let me know what you think. Also, I'll be doing individual vids like this for each of the races in Kulgurath, and there are plenty, so for the next vid, let me know whether y'all want to see dwarves, trolls, or humans, because those are the ones I've got some characters finalized for. I have a bunch of light elf and dark elf sketches, but I'm still finalizing the actual characters, so it will be a bit before we go over them. There's also, you know, other races like the Shroomids, which I've covered in the past here on the channel in one of my earliest Kulgurath vids, as well as like Beastmen, which is like, you know, Minotaurs, Centaurs, Harpies, you know, things of that sort. Demons are going to be an important group as well, which you got a glimpse of in my Halloween-themed vid from last month with the Demon Lord of Vampirism. Needless to say, there's a shit ton of races and plenty of content to make. There's even different groups of giants, which those of you who bought my Kulgurath Bestiary book over on Amazon have gotten a chance to see. Oh yeah, and earlier in this vid with that, you know, that first initial orc sheet that I drew, there in that bottom corner, there is a female orc. I'm going to design like a tribal elder character who will basically be the one that Grawl looks to for, you know, advice and wisdom. But yeah, that's going to be it for today's video, folks. Do me a solid, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you like the content and want to see more of my stuff. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.